Hello and welcome back to another episode of Diablo to D&D. My name is David, and today we're going to be going over the changes I'm making to the Summoner Druid Part 2. So a couple months ago, I made some significant changes to the Summoner Druid. I pulled the use of Find Familiar from the subclass. I made a bunch of changes. I introduced the Hordemaster ability. I did some rebalancing of the stats. Just, major changes. You can go watch it in the video that I've linked up in the corner. But now that I am getting to the very end of the creation part of this build, in fact, with this video, I am looking at, I think, only the finishing moves from the assassin that I haven't done, and then a handful of abilities that I'm not including in the build, like Pierce for the Amazon. But now that I am getting to the end of this creation part, I am going through and making a bunch of polishing changes, and some of those are some pretty big changes to the subclasses. So this is what I'm doing with the Summoner Druid right now. I was going to create the Grizzly, and in fact I had created the Grizzly stat block, but I had realized that a lot of the Druid, or the Summoner Druid, just didn't feel right. It felt a little too clunky because, you're getting different stat blocks and you can create them and that it's fine, but the Grizzly itself didn't feel like a 7th level ability, or sorry, like an ability worthy of a 7th level spell slot. So I decided to pull the trigger and make the Summon Druidic Companion spell, like I had threatened some time ago. So here I have the Summon Druidic Companion spell. This does get into some weirdness because, you have access to the Grizzly at level 6, technically level 5, but also it just works better, I think. Maybe. Feedback, please. I think it works. I think it's good. The only thing that I don't like about it is that it's a little bit, and I mean a little bit, too wordy. So let's go over exactly what went into creating the Summon Druidic Companion spell, and then we'll actually get into the subclass. I am not reading the whole thing. The first part, the spell portion of it, is basically just summoning boilerplate. It's a 3rd level spell. It's for the Druid. You call forth a bestial spirit. You got Direwolf, Spirit Wolf, or Grizzly. But the stat block itself is what we're really interested in. The big difference is that the size, medium for the Spirit Wolf, large for the Dire Wolf and Grizzly. The hit points are a little different. The Dire Wolf and Spirit Wolf have 30 plus 10 for each spell slot above 3rd, versus the Grizzly's 40 plus 15. The Grizzly is intended to be an HP tank. It is intended to just be a mass that you can put on the battlefield. It has some utility because while they all have 40 feet of movement, the Grizzly has climb and swim. It also has athletics, proficiency in athletics, whereas the Direwolf and Spirit Wolf have a proficiency in stealth. Grizzly has dark vision, the wolves do not. I'm kind of drawing inspiration from both the Cave Bear and the Polar Bear, because I don't think there's an actual Grizzly stat block, but I mean, Polar Bears are basically just, white grizzlies. I did keep Keen Hearing and Smell for all of them. The reason for that is the bear had Keen Smell, just Keen Smell, but I figured I didn't want to add more abilities, and they have bears have really good hearing anyway. Direwolf and Spirit Wolf keep pack tactics. Usher to Death for the Direwolf is still on that stat block. And then the bonus action Teleport for the Spirit Wolf is still there. The multi-attack is new. The companion makes a number of attacks equal to half the level of this spell. So this was kind of bringing back the old version of the wolves, where they would attack a number of times equal to half your proficiency rounded down or something like that. But this is very much like the rest of the summon spells, which determine their attacks based on the spell level. The Direwolf Bite has been rebalanced a little bit. It is 1d6 plus 3 plus the spell's level piercing damage. I think I previously had it as 2d6 plus 3, I think. And then it has the wolf drag to the ground, makes you fall over if you fail a strength saving throw, uses your spell save DC instead of the wolf's strength. The Spirit Wolf, same thing, 1d3 plus the spell's level, cold damage instead of 1d... Did I say 1d3? 1d8 plus, I think it was proficiency bonus. I think that's what it was that they used the proficiency bonus as part of their damage. But in this case, it's 1d8 plus 3 coming from the strength, which is 16, plus the spell's level cold damage. And then its speed is reduced by half rather than by 10. I could be persuaded either way. The Grizzly gets 2d6 plus 3 plus the spell's level in slashing damage. Now, that is because I really want the Grizzly to have some utility, or like some reason to actually use the Grizzly, because 9 times out of 10, you're just going to go with the Direwolf. Direwolf has pack tactics. Direwolf, you kill a minion, you kill something, and suddenly its damage is equal to the Grizzly. I mean, the Grizzly, yeah, sure, they get athletics, they have dark vision, but like, they get a couple more hit points, and that's pretty much it. Now, in the original build, when I had originally done the Grizzly stat block, it had charge. Moving 20 feet towards something and hitting it on the same turn, dealing an additional, I waffled about 1d6 or 2d6, but it dealt additional damage. The reason for that is that the Diablo Grizzly has a smite effect. Certain creatures and certain summons in Diablo actually use player skills. In this case, the Grizzly has the Paladin's smite. It hits, it knocks them back, and it stuns them. This was something that I had tried to work into the stat block, and it didn't really fit. What I had considered is a couple different abilities. Either one, increase the critical hit range of the Grizzly's ability, because I wanted to differentiate it from the Direwolf, which is why the Grizzly deals 2d6, whereas the Direwolf has to wait for Usher to Death to trigger in order for that to happen. Increase the critical hit range, give it charge, which gives it a lot more damage, or give it the same ability as the Direwolf, where they bite and it knocks down a creature. So the Direwolf bite would be Direwolf and Grizzly. Now, if I did it that way, what I could do is give the Grizzly that increased critical hit range regardless, because that damage would be 1d6 instead of 2d6 for the Grizzly itself. So make it a little bit more useful, or a little bit different. It would cut down on the number of words, but I don't know. It would make the Grizzly a little different, but I mean, that's kind of what changelogs are for, is, get feedback, do some testing, figure out you like it or don't like it, and I say it's a minor change, but it's an easy change. It's an easy change to make. So that is Summon Druidic Companion. I like it. It takes the stat blocks out of the subclass and makes it a spell. Spells can be a little more complex than the stat blocks inside class abilities and subclass abilities. Because, I mean, look at what the Ranger has. Their Beast of the Land, Sea, and Air from Tasha's are very, very, very simple. The Drake Warden Drake is incredibly simple. So having that spell that combines the three of them is just really good. All right, let's get into the actual subclass. Raven has undergone some serious changes. Beast Companion is removed. Beast Companions and the 6th and 10th level Beast Companion improvements all have been just pulled out. Some of the text from Beast Companion has been incorporated into Raven, which is now Raven Companion, mostly the summoning and controlling conditions. But what you have here now is a single raven instead of a flock of ravens. The raven flock was flavorful but mechanically clunky. The idea is that you'd have a number of ravens equal to your proficiency bonus, but then the damage got kind of weird because it was based off of their hit points, and their maximum damage that they could take was 1 in any given instance. So I just scrapped the whole thing and made Raven. This is basically just the Monster Manual Raven with a couple of changes. Its hit points, well, first off, its armor class is 10 plus proficiency bonus instead of 12. The hit points are equal to your Druid level instead of 1d4 minus 1, which would be 1. That's right. It has +1 strength and it has 1 more strength and 1 more intelligence than the Raven stat block. The reason for that is that I kind of wanted to make it feel like you have a Raven that's a little bit bigger and a little bit smarter because you're a Summoner Druid, and the magic infuses itself into this Raven and makes it a little bit better. It has expertise in perception instead of proficiency in perception, and it has a new ability called limited communication. The Raven can communicate simple ideas such as the positions of creatures or landmarks using a successful DC 8 Charisma performance check. This is so that it can communicate with you, and it can communicate with other people. If you need to send a message like, "I'm coming," then you can send your Raven off, and it can kind of get the idea that, this Druid is on his way. The reason why it's DC 8 is because that gives you a 55-50, depending on how you determine ties, percent chance to get the idea across. Because the Raven has a -2 charisma. Ties meaning that you succeed. On a 10, you've successfully given the information. It also allows you to do scouting. That's why the expertise and perception is there. It just makes it a little bit more useful. But it can also be serviceable in combat. Its beak, instead of dealing a number of d4s equal to its hit points, which was supposedly, quote-unquote, 1 raven per d4, or 1 d4 per raven, it just deals 3 piercing damage. That is just 1 plus its dexterity rather than its strength. The Monster Manual Raven only deals 1 damage. But it still has that Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC and blind on a fail. So I'm really happy with this one. You always have a Raven available. You can summon it once per long rest unless you expend a spell slot of 1st level or higher. So if your Raven dies, you can just go, okay, cool, boom, snap your fingers, and there it is. 1st level spell slot, that's what you got at 2nd level. So, yay. Now, the rest of the abilities are a little different. The Hordemaster ability has been renamed as Hordeleader. The reason being is because the improved Hordemaster ability is now Hordemaster. I wanted to make it feel like you are getting better, and improved Hordemaster just kind of felt wonky. So, Hordeleader is unchanged from the old Hordemaster, and then Hordemaster at 10th level is completely new, but we'll get to that. In between there, at 6th level, you have Druidic Companion. At 6th level, you always have the spell Summon Druidic Companion prepared. It doesn't count against the number of spells you have prepared, and here's where this gets kind of, this is what the subclass is about. Damage can't break your concentration on this spell, and when you cast it, the Druidic Companion gains temporary hit points equal to your Druid level. This is, I want to have my Grizzly, I want to have my Direwolf, I want to have my Spirit Wolf, and boom, you've got it there, and it is sticking around. Basically, you have to go unconscious, or you end the spell. And you can cast this spell once per long rest without expending a spell slot. You can also cast it using spell slots of the appropriate level. Now, something to note here is that that last part, using spell slots of the appropriate level, does tie into the first part, that damage can't break your concentration, and your Druidic Companion gains temporary hit points. That is on any casting of the spell. This is what the spell or the subclass is about, is having that animal companion. So I want you to keep it around, and I want you to have it feel more like this is your creature. Now, I had considered saying that its maximum hit points increases by your Druid level rather than temporary hit points, and I still could be convinced into doing that so that you can heal back up, which would give it a bit more flavor, right? Because you have a stronger companion, but maximum hit points kind of get wonky, so it's a balancing thing. I could be convinced either way. Anyway, at 10th level, you get 2 abilities. First off, you get Hordemaster, which makes your Hordeleader subclass feature can be used as an action or a bonus action. That is the same as what the Hordemaster, or improved Hordemaster, used to do, but now there's an additional ability. Also, creatures you control add your proficiency bonus to their ability checks and saving throws. This is a way to show that your creatures are innately linked to you. This is very similar to what the Tasha's Beast Companion stat blocks have, is that there's like some beast link thing that allows you to do basically that. The reason why I'm adding it in here is to show again that you are a Horde Master. You are the master of the Horde, and your creatures take inspiration from you. They're a little bit better, or a lot bit better, than just the normal things that anybody else summons. This does mean that suddenly that limited communication becomes a lot better, because you add your proficiency bonus to that performance check, significantly reducing the likelihood that that is going to fail. So, hooray. Now, at 10th level, also at 10th level, you get the Druidic Companion Improvement. At 10th level, you extend the magic that summons your Druidic Companion. When you cast Summon Druidic Companion using your Druidic Companion subclass feature, the duration becomes a number of hours equal to your proficiency bonus. So what this does is it drags that time out to when you first get it, out to 3 hours instead of 1 hour. And then on up to 6 hours at level 17, I think. So now you can keep this thing through multiple fights and, insert commentary on temporary hit points versus hit point maximum. Now, you will have to be concentrating on the spell throughout that entire time. So if you take a short rest and a nap, then yeah, you're going to go unconscious. You're going to lose concentration. So don't fall unconscious. Don't take a nap. I actually had considered doing no longer requiring concentration, but I figured that would be a little bit too powerful, especially with the 14th level ability. At 14th level, you get another Druidic Companion Improvement. At 14th level, your Druidic Companion grows stronger. When you cast Summon Druidic Companion using your Druidic Companion subclass feature, you can increase the spell slot level by 2 to 5th level. This way, your Druidic Companion becomes 2 levels stronger. It gives them access to that multi-attack. It gives them 20 or 30 additional hit points. It's a 14th level feature. It should be giving you a better companion. And that's the subclass. It's a little different from what I had created last time, but I think this is infinitely better than the previous version. It's cleaner, it's more understandable, it's more readable, and it feels like a summoner. I think the only thing that I disagreed with is not having that companion always on, so that you can walk around town with a grizzly bear, but also, like, you'll be walking around town with a grizzly, so, I don't know if I should give you, like, an additional use, like an additional free use of your Druidic Companion. I don't know if I should say that, for that 10th level, that the duration increases by a number of hours equal to your proficiency bonus. I had considered switching the 10th and 14th levels around so that you get a stronger companion than a companion that extends for longer. That one is, it's balancing, right? And, well, I'm not done yet. I am still going to be passing over a bunch of these abilities and trying to figure out, what I want to change. They're relatively minor. Well, in the grand scheme of what I've done to the subclass, relatively minor anyway. But I think what I have now is really, really good. That Hordemaster at 10th level being used as a bonus action or an action, I mean, I go over it in the previous Summoner video. It could be a problem, but I think now that you no longer have your Raven and your creature and your vine and now that you have a spell that you are concentrating on, that means that a couple attacks are being taken out. You don't have Summon Fae as well as your companion. And now that your Raven is, it's only dealing 3 damage, it's not dealing a number of d4s. It's not dealing 6d4 or 3d4 at this time, excuse me. Now that it's not dealing 3d4, it's only dealing 3 damage. I think it's okay. The vine got nerfed into the ground anyway. I don't remember if it was before or after, but it still got nerfed into the ground. So I think it works. I think it's okay. I think it's balanced relatively. But I would love to hear your thoughts on what I've done here. This is one of my longer videos. So I think I am just going to end it there. You can find me at XenozFan2, that is XenozFan2 on Blue Sky and Reddit. And you can contact the channel directly at Diablo TODND on Blue Sky and YouTube. Thank you much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good whatever.